This is the thing, and it's turning around. And one of the big things that's happening right now is there's that book Cynical Theories, which actually is a really good book
by
right?
James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose.
By James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose, and so James and Helen are on sort of different sides of this. James went and
I read it. I think it's a bit like too alarmist. I think it brings up some good points. Every chapter starts with like some good points, and at the end of it seems like, they're taking over.
So that part of it
for you.
So this
I think that they have a very specific lens within living within academia, and if you're in academia, it's a whole different fever pitch.
It is,
and I think that's fair. In academia, it's on a totally different level.
Every chapter is like it's coming out of academia, and
I'll tell you.
Hide your kids, hide your wives.
I want to kind of, I want to say so Armin's kind of right about this, because a lot of what it is they talk about this, critical theory, and there's the foundational elements of it, the history of where it started, and the problems with it, and how it's like entering into academia, and there's like legitimate professors and everything that are subscribing to this stuff, okay? But then looking at everything through that lens, how the main criticism of theirs is that people who are anti-racist, or the woke people, look at everything through the lens of race. Well, the people who are anti-critical theory look at everything through the lens of critical theory. It's a single issue, and it seems like they are completely like that is a filter through which they're looking at everything. And that's also another, and it's kind of interesting because this is January 4th, so I have this tweet, so James Lindsay had tweeted, quote, "Best thing you can do for your company in 2021 is fire all the woke people and dissolve all diversity and inclusion committees," end quote.
Fire all the woke people?
Holy
crap, man.
So I kind of tongue-in-cheek sort of responded to it, and I put in quotes. I was like, fire people for what they believe, because we shouldn't be firing people for what they believe. I mean, that's basically what he's trying to say.
Amazing.
Wait, did he hit you in the replies?
Yeah, he said that it was a straw man, and then everybody told him that it wasn't. Everybody told him it was a joke.
I'm going to admit something about critical theory once I actually studied it. That even when I was reading that book, which is supposed to be anti-critical theory, when I was like reading it, I was like, what? There's some good points here.
No, because
there's some good point. I mean, I feel like what? Like these people were like, I mean, not all of it. I thought it was good points, but I was like, this is like it's worth considering that perspective.
Yes,
and maybe in academia, this stuff is interesting and useful as a way to look at things. Maybe it's just like average people using it, it just goes wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
right.
So even James Lindsay will say that there are things that critical theorists like get right, or they have good points, or that they have a perspective on things that do a better job at addressing things than, say, like classical liberal perspective could. I've heard him say that. So I would have agreements. Again, critical theory is a lens or a tool, but a lot of problem comes with the application.
Yeah, but to be fair, I'm not saying everything. I like there are a lot of things that is just beyond reasonable, even when it comes to application. You know what I mean? Like there are some writers there that seem to be like, oh yeah, objective reality is not a thing. Like that also does exist there. I'm not endorsing everything in there, but just because there are many things there that I don't like, that doesn't mean there weren't like some good points. This
is the reason I love you, Armin, and I knew that as soon as I said that, he would allow me to interrupt. I mean, that's one thing that's beautiful. Yeah, okay. No, I'm kidding. So but this really is, and I mean this genuinely, is that you're right. Like, you read the book and there are legitimate points, even if and it's the same thing. It's like, when people talk about Marxism, like Marxism was this evil thing. Like, you read about Marxism, you read about the history of Marxism, why it started up, there were some good foundational ideas there. Now, did it work? Did it jive with human nature? Did it get corrupted later on? Did it eventually go awry? Yes, in a lot of ways it did. But there are some basic elements, and there's some foundational elements to Marxism that we still have in our societies today.
Right?
And Marx, it's like that with all of these ideologies. This is how you don't think tribally. But go ahead.
No, we studied Marx in university and sociology, and he'd think everything that he's wrong about, it came to us with hindsight and data that he didn't have.
Yeah.
Like he, you know what I mean? Like the guy was a genius, to be fair, and he was wrong about a lot, like how things work in the real world economically, right? But we got that because years of data after he died. Like it's easy for us to be like, oh, Marx was wrong, and because we see the evidence. Yeah, go on, Susanna. Well, but we have to answer questions after this.
Yeah. In terms, just to kind of circle back in terms of like, has anti-wokeness gone too far, or as I subtitled the video, when keeping it real goes wrong. So I think my friend Nick said on Twitter, and he's actually a patron of the show. So if you're listening, Nick, hi. He was like talking on Twitter to someone, I can't remember, about like James Lindsay basically devolving into various conspiracy theories, like publicly. And he basically said, like, this is one of the things that happens when you are defined by what you fight against, but not by what you fight for. So I think this ties back to Ali's point about being certain individuals or figures being single issue. Like it can be reactionary. It's not an active stance. It's like, okay, so this is what you're against, but what are you proactively bringing to the table, right? And I thought that was a very good point. One of the ways that I see people go wrong in this criticism of many legitimate ways of ideas and ideologies are absurd and harmful, is that they are defined by fighting against it. They're not necessarily proactively offering something in its stead. They don't necessarily have something that they fight for. And I mean, quick plug, this is why I like our work at Atheist Republic, because we are very clear about what we fight for, being you guys as well, enlightenment values, that is the name
of this show.
Yeah, that's what drives us. It's not that we are just defined in reaction to something. It's actually we're taking up this fight in defense of something and in promotion of something better.
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.